My name is Sam Martin, and with me is Jason Comic Book. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good, Sam. How you doing?
Not too bad. In this video, we're going to be giving our reactions and thoughts on the DC Rebirth announcement. So we've gotten some details. We don't have the creative teams yet, but we've got a good sense of the titles that are coming and a little bit of a sense of what DC is trying to do. So it's kind of the opposite, so to speak, of last year's DCU. Following Convergence last year, they did the DCU where they gave creative teams a lot of control and freedom, and they said, don't worry about continuity. We can have some sort of almost independent feeling books, books that are in different styles rather than having like a unified house style. A lot of the sales on those more risky, creative books weren't what DC was hoping for, so now this one is kind of more of a back to basics, back to superheroes, and back to a unified continuity. That's the sense that I got from it. So this is kicking off in May with an 80-page special written by Geoff Johns, and it does seem like Geoff Johns is the kind of leading creative mind behind this effort, whereas I think DiDio was the head of the New 52 effort 5 years ago. But we've got that 80-page special coming in May, followed by the Rebirth issues in June, and then most of the books will be coming with a #1 in July. Action Comics and Detective Comics, though, will be reverting to their original numbering in the 900s. So what was your overall reaction when you got these details coming out about Rebirth?
Well, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, we don't need another reboot, like kind of liked what was happening with the New 52. For the odd flaw that it had, it's been doing a good job. So this kind of, to me, gives them an opportunity to have their cake and eat it too. They can kind of have a new #1, but yet go back to some of the old continuity that they used to have and things, before Crisis and things like that, and kind of pick and choose, like I was saying before, kind of an Elseworld style of what they want to tell. So I'm looking forward to aspects of it. The books that are going to be coming out twice a month, there's an issue there for me, how if they can keep the quality up. But I'm pretty intrigued by Action Comics and Detective going back to their original numbering, and part of me really wants to check those out because of it.
Yeah, I've definitely got Action Comics, Detective Comics written down for me. Because it'll actually, now that they're going twice a month, those two books will be hitting 1,000 in like 2 years instead of 4 years or 5 years.
Are those bi-weekly too?
Right, yeah. Action and Detective are two of the ones out of about 16 or 17 that are going to be twice a month.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that'll definitely speed up the pace to get to that issue 1,000, which I'm sure was part of the strategy of going into this Rebirth thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree with what you're saying about, we don't need a new reboot, but it might be a nice way to just pull some of the best things from the past, mix it with some of the things that are working in New 52, because I'm also a fan of New 52. I've liked a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Superman has kind of been floating around, hasn't really found its groove, but some of the other books have been pretty good. So if there's stuff that's been working, you can kind of keep it around, but if there's some other stuff that needs to go back to its roots, you can bring that up, incorporate it into the new #1s. So for me, I'm kind of overall excited about it. I didn't feel like it was totally needed, but I can see the business side of things, of trying to coalesce around the books that are the better sellers and trying to have them come out more frequently, in place of some of the books that were the lowest sellers, even though I really liked some of those books like Prez and Omega Men and Midnighter and stuff. So for me, I'm excited about a lot of it. Now, the bi-weekly stuff, so you mentioned being concerned about the quality. So I know Marvel has done a little bit of this twice a month type thing. Do you know how that works with the artists? Like, does that mean you have two artists that are kind of trading off? Because that's the thing I would really be wondering about, is how do they keep the art consistent?
Yeah, well, there was the best example, the way Marvel did it with Amazing Spider-Man a few years ago. It was coming out either weekly or 3 times a month or something crazy like that. But what they did is they got rid of all the other Spider-Man books and had what they called like a webhead group of guys all working together. So it would be like Mark Waid and a couple other writers. And instead of them working on respective different books and trying to kind of, haphazardly match it up continuity-wise, they went, let's just do Amazing Spider-Man all together. And you work on your arc, and then as soon as I'm done my arc, then you work on your arc, and we can hand off one-off stories and things. And it worked quite well because you'd have artists doing sometimes 2 issues or 3 issues, but you wouldn't usually have the same artist for a 6-issue run.
So this is where I feel like I want to give it a shot. A lot of people like to hate on DC, but I'm like, let's see what they can do, because for me, I think it makes sense to have Batman twice a month and Detective Comics twice a month, rather than like 7 different Batman books,
Totally.
where they're trying to like squeeze Batman into all these different things. I'm like, just give me
Yeah.
a good Batman run, give me a good Detective run, and I'll be having those pretty much every week. Same thing for Superman. It's like, Superman, let's get the Superman title with a
Yes.
solid creative team on it, which the rumor is that it's going to be Peter Tomasi. Put him on Superman, have that come out twice a month, and then have Action Comics twice a month, rather than trying to balance Batman, Superman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, and Action Comics, and then like the American Alien and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you can focus in on 2 books and try to get your character, get some momentum going, I feel like that can work. The Green Lantern stuff, for people that are Green Lantern fans, there's going to be Green Lanterns, plural, and then there's going to be Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. So that might be a way, too, to like coalesce and have some solid Green Lantern stuff going, rather than kind of being spread around with different lead characters and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess you need a really good showrunner in a way like that, like they have for TV shows. And Scott Snyder, I think, is going to be on Detective.
Right.
So if they've got somebody good paired up with him to work kind of hand in hand with Batman or something like that, that could work really well. And Superman, I think, could really benefit from this because it's been the title where it needs a little more work, I think we both agreed on.
Yeah, it needs just a little bit more of a clear direction and stay with that for a while, let it develop. But yeah, I think you're right about the showrunner idea. For Batman, Bleeding Cool, I think, was reporting that Tom King is going to be on Batman, but I'm also hearing that maybe like James Tynion IV, who's been writing the Batman and Robin Eternal and been working in the Bat family recently.
Yeah, he's worked with Snyder,
Yeah, so we'll see who ends up doing that kind of thing. Like I said, I was sorry to see a Mega Man go, Prez go, Gotham by Midnight's gone, Midnighter's gone, which were, I think, high-quality books, but they didn't have the mass market appeal as these ones that have your main core superheroes that have the TV shows, the movies, and that stuff. And they clearly are thinking about the TV and movie universe, because you've got Cyborg sticking around, you've definitely got Green Arrow, you've got Wonder Woman, you've got a new Supergirl book coming, which is good. Good to get Supergirl back in the kind of main universe, because right now all we have is Adventures of Supergirl, the digital comic.
That's right, yeah.
But with the show taking off, I mean, it's kind of a mistake by DC that they didn't already have a strong Supergirl book on the shelves.
I kind of feel like that with The Flash, too. The book was okay and stuff, but they've got an opportunity here to make something that's a higher-end product, kind of like the show is.
Yeah, and I think you and I are on the same page in terms of, like, the comic books don't need to be subservient to the TV shows or to the movies, but it'd be nice if they were a little bit more closely aligned, where it wasn't totally confusing for people who are trying to enjoy the characters in both places.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking stuff from the show that's been doing an excellent job, whereas, anytime they make a comic book movie, they take bits and pieces from some of the best works over the years, right? So that's how it goes.
Yeah, so I think the comic book writers and the teams still have freedom to do their thing, but if it's relatively close, or if you can see the connections to TV or movies, I think it's only a good thing.
I agree, yeah.
So some of the new books coming in, we mentioned Supergirl. I'm kind of excited for Blue Beetle. Yeah,
Nice.
Are there any other new books coming that kind of caught your eye?
I didn't really check out the full solicitations. It sounds like a lot of the standard books I would expect to be there, like Justice League and Batman and Superman and all the big superheroes, right?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely the main core. All the Justice Leaguers have a book. There's a Super Sons, which people are speculating might be Jonathan from Lois and Clark. So this is like the new baby of Superman and Lois Lane. And
That's
maybe
different.
Jonathan teams up with Damian, and that's the Super Sons.
Oh, wow.
So that could be something. And Damian, like Son of Batman, is canceled now, but maybe Damian is rolling over into either Titans or into Super Sons.
Was there anything else that was kind of jumped out that was really different than what we've seen before?
No, I mean it's really risk averse. So they're going around their mainstays, like you said, Flash, Green
Safe.
Arrow, all that stuff. Yeah, definitely they're doubling down on the safe stuff by having it come out twice a month. Super Sons will be new. The Superman will be new, which I don't know who that is exactly. Maybe Lex Luthor. Blue Beetle is the only one that kind of sticks out as like a little bit of a creative choice, and I am curious about that one.
And it's interesting to see which Justice League they go with, because this continuity isn't necessarily going to be a reboot or whatever it could take from different generations of Justice League, right?
Yeah, and there's a Justice League America
Right.
as well. So I don't know if that's going to be related at all to Brian Hitch's run on Justice League of America right now, but we'll have to see. I wanted to get your reaction on the price. So they've reduced the price. They're going to say all the books are going to be $2.99. So right now, a lot of the more popular books are $3.99, sometimes slipping into $4.99. And then like the lesser books or the lower selling books are $2.99. But they're saying we're going to put everything out at $2.99.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially because I've mentioned to you before, living in Canada, the dollar is really bad right now, so the comics cost even more up here. But the $2.99 thing is something they did a few years ago, and they tried to stick with it for a lot of books, and they did for quite a while. So that's pretty cool because there's a lot of books out there competing for your dollar, and especially if you're going to have to buy it twice a month, $2.99 makes it a nice price point.
Yeah, I felt good about it too. For me, getting, like we said, 2 Batmans, 2 Detective Comics, but if they're each only $2.99, that's better than trying to keep up with like 5 or 6 Batmans or like 5 Superman books.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, and also for me, it's nice to kind of plan. So if I'm thinking about a month and I just know everything's $2.99, that I know sort of more of what I'm getting into, rather than that one's $4.99 or that one's $3.99 this time.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
The other thing I wanted to get a reaction to was there was a little interview with Dan DiDio right about the time they were making the announcement, and he said that Geoff Johns' 80-page special in May is going to have the most controversial scene in DC history.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't know if he's just being hyperbolic to try to sell it, but I mean, he seemed pretty serious about it when he said something controversial is going to happen. So do you think a death? Do you think something, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what could it really be? Because it could be a death of a character. You can't see it being a major character because they've got the movies all coming out and plans for that. They've already kind of made a character gay that was a main character, but it was like in an Earth 2 kind of thing.
Right.
I don't know who they could bring back from the dead. It was a huge deal when they brought back Barry Allen years ago. So, yeah, it sounds like they're just trying to get people interested in it. I don't know. Like, remember when they killed off Blue Beetle in Countdown to Infinite Crisis years ago, right? So that was pretty cool. So I really don't know. I mean, wonder, it could be anything.
Yeah. It seems like bringing somebody back, he probably would have said something more like surprising or something like that.
Yeah.
Controversial, I feel like it's more like going the other way of killing somebody or changing somebody, like somebody goes bad or somebody does something that they're not supposed to do.
Yeah,
like Batman kills somebody kind of or something. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's got me intrigued, which I'm sure is exactly what he was trying to do.
Stir the pot, right?
Yeah. But really, I think this is Geoff Johns' baby. So I think Dan DiDio was really the head of New 52 because at the time he said, I've been trying to do this New 52 for a few years. Like I've been trying to reboot everything to number ones. And he had a shot. And, it's going to have been about 5 years. So the people that are saying, like, didn't they just reboot it? Didn't they just reboot it? It's like, well, it's been 5 years. Marvel does this kind of thing. Yeah. So I think this time, though, they're kind of giving the reins to Geoff Johns because he's kind of the master of the rebirth kind of idea. And I think this one, the way that he was talking about it, seems like it's his baby. So we'll see what he can do with it. If this doesn't go well, I think there's going to be new leadership in DC in a couple of years.
Yeah, I would agree. And they got to start to think about things down the line for comics and numbering. Number ones always sell well, but when you look at the top selling magazines in the world, they don't have numbers. Maybe it's buried in the table of contents. They just have months on the cover.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that someone would buy, did you get the new February issue of Batman? Yeah, it was great, or did you get the one around Christmas time, because it was a Christmas theme thing,
Yeah,
so,
tell people like, hey, jump on the November issue, and then from November, December, January, that's a good story arc.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be think about there because as a collector, the number one thing, and sometimes 2 or 3, because they're less printed, can be pretty cool to speculate if they're going to be worth money. But as a fan, especially when you go back through an entire history of a comic character, it's like, wow, how many number ones do we need, right?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, if I could flip a switch and somehow do that, I think it does make sense to go based on the time when it comes out. And then just find some way on the cover or in the previews or wherever to indicate when it's a new creative team or when it's a brand new story arc.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they could even have the numbering still in the table of contents or something,
Yeah, so you could, or just say, it's number 1 of this story arc, but don't try to say that it's the issue number 1. Just say it's the September issue of 2016.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I'm still looking forward to it. I want to give them a chance and see what they can do. So I will talk to you when it's starting to come out.
Yeah, sounds good.